Hello and welcome to a brand new Five Heart podcast. I'm Greg Mahochko, and this fellow up here, this handsome silver fox, is none other than our founder and fearless leader of CoreNation.com, John Dam Johnston. Hello, John.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. I thought I was I thought the end was near. We were supposed to have 800 inches of snow in Minneapolis or Minnesota, and we only got like a foot, maybe 10 inches.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, that also means that the meteorologist was way, way off.
Actually, I think they were pretty accurate. It's just that it snowed most of the night, and it's amazing how quickly they can clear things up around here. So it was, things are going well.
Good. You didn't have any transportation-related issues?
Well, I don't go anywhere.
Even better.
I mean, nobody went anywhere. They called 2 days of school off ahead of time. And yesterday it really didn't even snow at all. And then, it didn't snow much. And then today, things were pretty good. So, but I don't go a lot of places. I work about 95% of the time at home. Nobody wants me anywhere anymore. Nobody loves me.
Well, that's not true, John. We love you. And we're excited for the spring plans that are being in the works for people to get out and meet you face to face. John, we don't talk about it a whole lot here, but I know you and Todd discuss it periodically on Monday Night Therapy, but there are plans for a little Corn Nation get-together and for an opportunity, maybe a little tailgate or something for the public, our viewers and our listeners and our readers of CoreNation.com to get together and meet some of the faces behind the brilliance.
Oh my
that is
God!
CoreNation.com.
Well, yeah, Todd has mentioned it, and Aaron has mentioned it, and I hope that they just do stuff and then tell me when to be there.
Yeah.
By the way, I know that there's been complaints about my audio issues. I have worked with the support of our Restream. We use Restream as our streaming vendor, and I've worked with them, and my internet is not good enough. And
hey, John.
Yeah?
Remember a couple of months ago when you were asking me about my laptop?
Yeah?
And well, what about your router? And I said, well, it says I have a 5G capability, and you sent me to Amazon to get these little 5 cards,
Mm-hmm.
and I put one in my laptop, and since then there's been complaints. So, John, you work in the field.
Yeah.
What's the issue?
Well, the issue is that I have a 400 megabit Comcast connection, but it only does 10 megs up, and I thought it did 20, and I changed this honestly somewhere along the line, so I upgraded it today, but the upgrade has not taken place yet. And basically when I asked them, okay, when's this going to happen, they said, sometime in the next few hours your router just reboot and you'll have new internet. So this is why I'm bringing it up. So if I just disappear in the middle of the show, my internet is being upgraded.
Not only that, but when you do come back, you'll be coming back crystal clear, and the viewers, the listeners, are going to get full John.
By the way, Aaron is in chat, and he says, wait, I'm planning. Yeah, you and Todd should plan. People don't let me plan stuff, man. They don't. They know that if they let me plan things, I just show up to a place with it used to be 2 bottles of liquor in my hand and go, well, did you guys bring your own? And, that's kind of how it goes. People don't really rely on me to plan things anymore. Well, I don't know if they ever did.
I'm much more of a tell me where I need to be when type of guy myself.
Yeah.
So, and Aaron says never go full John. Well,
I don't know what that means.
Well, because I said when you come back after your modem reboots, then we'll get crystal clear full John.
Oh.
It's like you don't listen to the show sometimes.
I'm thinking that's true.
You're listening to talk instead of listening to listen.
That's true. That is true. That's how it goes with these things.
It is. I want to spend a little bit of time. We have topics, but folks, we have bona fide, honest to God topics.
Okay. Are they good topics?
We'll let the listeners decide.
Okay.
But I want to spend a few minutes, and I know that you and Todd talked about it. Whatever bits you could squeeze out of Todd because it's basketball. But let's talk about Fred Hoiberg's squad.
Yeah.
And this little bit, this is not unusual. You know, they put little second half runs together in the past, you know, and winning some games that maybe they aren't supposed to win. But it's just, this team's a lot of fun to watch.
They are. That's true.
And I like how you mentioned Keisei Tominaga on Monday night. I know I like how you mentioned Keisei and Todd mentioned Kisai.
Yeah. I didn't even bother correcting him.
No, but we chuckled at it. But I'm going to try to draw a comparison that I hope doesn't come across racist. I see his enthusiasm for the game and some of his mannerisms and going down the court, and he reminds you remember Major League 2?
No.
Okay.
Anybody else? Is that the one with Wild Thing?
Well, they both have Charlie Sheen in them, yes.
Okay.
But in the second one, Jobu has lost his magic again, and they bring in a Japanese player, and his thing is he's famous. He's talking to Serrano. He says no marbles, and some of those mannerisms. I feel like Tominaga, not to say that he's making any of these claims, but just some of those. I feel like the dude's got grapefruits.
Grapefruits?
Not marbles. He's got grapefruits.
Okay. He does. I think the thing is when he was brought in, we all heard about, this Japanese guy that's played in the Olympics, and he's going to be a shooter, and and now we see, my God, when he gets going, he just gets going. And I think that he's just an amazing player. I think that between him and Derek Walker, you've got the Japanese Steph Curry who can make plays under the basket, and he's well timed with his moves that he makes under the basket against very large guys a lot of the time. Then you've got Derek Walker who can just seemingly score for. I know we call him our big man, but he's really not that big relative to other big guys in the Big Ten. And then you got Sam Griesel, who's been an excellent point guard. That's been the missing component all along. And I think the point guard thing has been a real problem, having a real point guard and then being able to assist and dish the ball really well. And that's what they do well. They play together as a team. Where we haven't seen that, we didn't really see it in Fred's 3 previous years, I don't think, as much. Maybe at the end of the years, but not, I don't think to this level. So,
no, I completely agree. And it's something I've been saying, for a couple of weeks now as they've been on this little bit of a roll. But you had tremendous talent. I think Fred's brought with him in every year tremendous talent.
Right.
But, I'm going to say this as diplomatically as possible, but even Michael Jordan wouldn't win championships by himself.
Right.
And I think the fact that there's maybe fewer stars, but all around better talent, if that makes sense, has been a really nice feather in the cap. And yeah, I want to talk about Tominaga because an interesting statistic that you wouldn't think would have taken 25, 26 years to happen is he's the first player since Tyronn Lue to score 20 or more points in 5 consecutive games. And Lue did it in 7 back in, I think, the 96-97 season. And that is just mind-boggling to me.
Wow.
Because we've had good players, but they've just never put together a run quite like Tominaga has.
Right. Yeah, put it this way, that kind of tells you. I think that tells you something about the state of Nebraska basketball, where our program's been and where we've been, and maybe why I still see people on social media commenting that Hoiberg should be fired. Uh, I guess, they never come up with a solution for that. Nobody ever says he should be fired and they should hire this guy. Of course they don't, because, we don't do that. And the only name anybody ever comes up with is Lou for a head coach, because nobody has idea. And I noticed that one of the other podcasts out there, I made a comment on Twitter a few weeks ago before we started down this win streak. I made the comment, I think it's the Go Big Redcaster. Is that their names? The Herdat guys?
Yeah, I believe so.
I made the comment to them that nobody cares about Nebraska basketball, and they have been using that against me since. Which, I don't blame them. It's easy to beat a guy up for that. But the fact is nobody, when we do shows or when we do articles on Nebraska basketball, they don't get near the hits about that. Then if we would have titled this show with football headlines, more people would show up. And that's why a lot of people on like YouTube or podcasting don't do anything but football, because they know that the drop-off is huge there. But
Sure.
I guess I look at Fred Hoiberg and I think, he can just stay for as long as he wants. And I hope it's a long time. Because our basketball program is just not good.
No, but it is also on it. I've been saying this now. It's in an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, you look at what we're losing. We're going to lose Derek Walker, Sam Griesel next year, are two of the key components to that. And who are they going to replace him with? And I think that's the thing, is that if you go on Facebook, 1890 The Collective has a Facebook group, or on Twitter, and follow them on Twitter. They are posting who they're signing with nil deals all of the time. I don't recall seeing any basketball players. And I think that's a big issue for us. Are we really going to commit to having a good basketball program? Because I think people would like it. I think it'd be fun. I realize we're all about football, but I think it would be a fun break for people to kind of go, hey, you know what? We can beat Purdue. We could sweep Purdue. That would be nice, because screw Purdue. I would like it. I understand that the rest of the Big Ten, here's the thing with the Big Ten, and I've said this before, when you beat Iowa in football and then you beat them again in basketball, it hurts them a lot. Yeah, and it hurts Purdue even more. It hurts Michigan. It hurts Michigan State, because all those schools, Indiana, you beat them in basketball, you've caused them pain. And what do you want to do to these schools? Cause them pain. I do. I want to laugh at these people and make fun of them, because that's what I see sports as being for. Filling the empty void that is my life, Greg.
You know what? There's only one. There's only one thing that can fill that void, John.
Yeah, is it? What is it?
It's our Lord and Savior.
Okay. I thought you were going to say something about you.
No,
okay.
No, come on now. That'd be inappropriate. Fred made this great point. I'm 100% in agreement. Nebraska ball hasn't been awesome, but Hoiberg is incrementally evolving. I agree. I think part of Hoiberg's strategy, part of his success at Iowa State, was get in some heavy hitters, get in some top-notch talent, and that did not work at Nebraska. So he's maybe downplayed the one and done Bryce McGowan types, and he's going for that more. Look, when he came, he went, he Shermaned, scorched earth the previous roster. Right. Almost nobody survived. You have to build that foundation. You have to have some guys, some depth, some guys who are all in on the program. And Fred says, I don't want to see him fired and start over with yet another guy.
I agree with that. I think the thing is with Nebraska basketball is it's a tough nut to crack. I think it's just hard to figure out how you're going to win here. And, giving a coach, we were all prepared to give that other guy 7 freaking years because he asked for it.
Yeah.
Okay? And he had a blue blood program to play with and all the resources on the freaking planet. He could have gone out and signed a quarterback for $20 million. And I'm not even joking about that. But you turn around and look at the basketball program and you go, it hasn't worked in 3 years. Well, I don't think it's going to. It may not ever work, but God, at least it's been more fun to watch lately than it's been in quite a while.
Fred also asked, Greg, what are you drinking? He says, I'm drinking, ironically, Thunderhead Brewing's Frost Warning. It's 99% off the discount bid now. I went back to Old Reliable. Honestly, this is the first beer I've had because John, you remember last week I was sick and I was coughing and hacking half the damn time. And this is the first beer that I've had in a couple weeks. I just went back. I still have some in the fridge. I've got the Schlafly Pale Ale out of St. Louis. It's reliable. You know, it never lets me down, and it's got a good flavor. You know, Bud Light used to have that as part of their motto, their catchphrase. They're saying it used to be for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. And the problem with that is it doesn't have a great taste.
No.
And it does let you down. But this Schlafly Pale Ale is all reliable for me. I can always get it. I'm never disappointed. So that's what I'm drinking tonight.
Can I put one up?
John, it's been a long time since you've had a drink, buddy. You can put as many up. You can put them back. You can do whatever you want to do. I saw that too.
Blaine Cole from Japan says Tominaga has Banpayu. I think that's how it's pronounced. No idea how he can be so athletic with those. I don't do it. You got to explain this, Blaine. What the hell are we supposed to do? I don't know Japanese. I watch anime, but I don't know anything.
So Banpayu is a plant. It's a fruit. It's a citrus. The problem is, not problem. It's good. It's good for, and I only know this because I Googled it actually at the moment. But it's a fruit that is about like the size of a bowling ball.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I'm glad I brought that up, then.
Yeah.
We all learned something. Something.
Not knowing what Banpayu is, if I'm pronouncing that right, I was very skeptical to put it in my Google machine. But I did, and now I know. Now we're all
You can never be too careful.
You can never be too careful. Back on beer real quick. Fred says he's a big fan of Kincaider and Site 1 if I ever get the chance. So we're going to have Aaron and Todd fill me in on these details of the potential meetup in Lincoln because I don't live in the area.
Right.
And I already have 3, maybe 4 trips for work scheduled this month or this year, so I'd like to participate. I also have the twins, John. The twins are 2 years old today.
Congratulations.
I didn't do anything.
Well, you got them this far.
I
did. Helped them get this far.
they're still kicking in. I've helped, or at least not hampered. But it's tough to go away for a weekend of fun and frivolity and leave my wife at home with the kids. So maybe I'll see if they want to go to exciting Lincoln and take in a.
We could get a little robot and put like a camera on it for you.
All right, a couple things here. Brian Bauer checking in says Hoiberg started out somewhat by his choice with one player on his roster, and that dude was a white guy from Iceland. May have been a learning experience for Fred.
Yeah, I think
was
so.
Was that Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't. Thor didn't come on with Fred. Thor was here with Tim Miles.
Right.
And then Clutch Hat Trick. Although the way it's spaced, you think it's Clutch Hat Trick. Says XFL pretty fun right now if you got the itch for football. The Seattle Sea Dragons are hosting my third favorite football team of all time, the St. Louis Battlehawks, right now on Thursday Night Football. Probably can't say that for trademark purposes. And it's 12-8 Seattle. It was 12-0 Seattle. So St. Louis won. John, I don't know if you know this. They scored 2 touchdowns in the last 90 seconds on Sunday against San Antonio, and it was pretty exciting with those XFL rules. Are you familiar with the XFL rules, John? Can I tell you?
Sure. Okay.
You score a touchdown, and then you have the extra point or a 2 extra point or a 3 extra point,
right?
Conversion, or 3-point conversion, and then in lieu of an onside kick, you can try a 4th and 15 from your own 25, and if you convert, you get possession, and if not, the other team gets terrific field position. And St. Louis did that, and then they went down the field and they scored a winning touchdown to Austin Proehl, the son of Super Bowl champion with the St. Louis Rams, Ricky Proehl. So,
wait a minute. Fred Sacco says the New Jersey Generals got Adrian Martinez, him, Riley, and Diaco, just like Montana, Walsh, and Buddy Ryland. Look out, USFL. What do you mean Diaco? I didn't realize Diaco had a job. Bob Diaco is with the Generals?
I'm trying not to fact check Fred. I tend to trust Fred. He's defensive line coach for the New Jersey Generals.
Oh my! Well, he's a line
Think
coach.
about
Okay, he's a position
that's
coach.
Quite a demotion, would you say?
I don't know. You still get probably paid decently.
I don't know about decently. Let's be honest.
Well, that's true.
It's the USFL. Clutch Hat Trick says, how does he still get jobs? It's not
he knows people.
I was going to say, it's not what you know, it's who you do.
Okay. That's kind of weird. We should move on from that.
All right. So let's talk. Let's jump back to Nebraska ball. Things have played out kind of the way I'd hoped. We go back to a couple weeks back. There was the win, the overtime win against Wisconsin on Saturday the 11th, and then there was the short turnaround because they played at Rutgers on Tuesday on Valentine's Day, and then they had from Tuesday to Sunday to kind of rest, get their legs back under them, and it turned out because they beat Maryland this past Sunday in overtime again. Now, 2 of the last 3 games being overtime wins, you need more rest. They don't play again until Saturday at home against Minnesota. Another little short turnaround because they're home against Michigan State on Tuesday, and then they don't wrap things up until Sunday, March 5th. So, really, I mean, I like the spacing, I like the scheduling, how it's played out in the last couple of weeks for Nebraska, and I think it really sets them up for success.
Well, I mean, they should beat Minnesota's not good. I mean, Minnesota's only won 1 conference game, and what is it? Michigan State's next. The entire Big Ten is just not. Purdue's good. The rest of the Big Ten is just kind of, I don't know, swirl around in your drink kind of thing and see what it tastes like after you pour some unknown ingredient in it. Northwestern is in a position to win this conference. And nothing against the Nerds, but let's be honest. If the Nerds are in position to win the conference of basketball, they do have that Bowie kid who's a freak shooter, but at the same time, that means everybody else is way below their usual standards, like Michigan State. So, Nebraska plays well. Every one of these games is going to come down to pretty much 3 things. Number 1, did they start well? In other words, did the first few shots go in? Because if they start well, they start to get energy going, especially if they're at home. And number 2, how are the refs calling the game? Because if the refs start right out and give Derek Walker 2 fouls, and if it becomes ref ball early in a game, I think we have depth issues that other people don't have. Blaze Keita has played a lot better lately. He goes after things. I don't think he's a scorer, but he's a good guy to have on the floor that's doing things. And number 3, I was supposed to make something up in my head for number 3. Those 2 things I think are the biggest thing. I guess the other team would have to be number 3. Are they going to have a good shooting night? Because, if you see most of the games Nebraska wins, our defense kicks in and we hold people to pretty good, to below their scoring standards, to below their usual performance ratios, and let's go with those three things. The first two are certainly correct. It's all about, I think, how they start.
And I'm going to hide this real quick because I want to piggyback on something you said. Pinnacle Bank Arena is a blast. I mean, that atmosphere is electric. Is it among the top in the conference? We don't have the tradition yet. I mean, we don't have the success to have built on the tradition, but there's such an energy there. I mean, you go back how many years to No Sit Sunday, right? And then I think that every time a team comes in, and maybe they don't get it maybe they don't get that taste the first time around. Maybe Nebraska's not as competitive, but when Nebraska is playing well, when things are going their way, and I don't say that to mean, that there's only energy when the team's winning or competitive, but you get down 20 points early, does take the air out of the arena. But there's a buzz, there's an electricity in PBA that really is, as Nebraska continues to improve on the court, the arena atmosphere is just going to get more and more exciting, and opposing teams are going to have to be on the lookout because they're not going to be able to come in and walk over Nebraska.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Big Ten, especially, and really all basketball, college basketball anyway, is owning your home court, and I think Nebraska's done a decent job of that this year. They could have won a few more games. It would have been nice, but we're going to see what happens for the rest of the season. There is this thing about us making the NCAA tournament that is going around, and it's kind of funny, but Nebraska just doesn't. I don't think they have any quad one wins. And, when they look at who you've beaten and who you've lost to, we're hurting other people way more than anything else. I think our NET is in the 90s. And in order for us to get into the NCAA tournament, it would have to jump up into the 40s. And that's just not possible with this few games. Minnesota isn't going to help us, right? Michigan State is decent, but they're not big. They're not a high-ranked team because of the season they're having. And other than just winning out the Big Ten tournament, which who knows? Put it this way. I think we're still down. If Dondre says if Nebraska wins out and makes the semifinals of the Big Ten, they should be dancing. I don't know about that. I just don't think our record is strong enough. Because it's because of the lack of quad one wins, the top wins against top teams. I think an NIT bid is that's the thing about it. An NCAA tournament bid is way off in the distance. An NIT bid seems way more reachable, and any kind of postseason whatsoever for the basketball team would be, it'd be pretty damn funny, wouldn't it? I mean, think about it for a minute. Our football team hasn't been to a bowl game in 83 years, and our basketball team gets into postseason. I think that it should get some oomph to the basketball program, and it'd be nice. I'd like to see us do something neat with men's basketball because whether you like it or not or care it or not, it's a high-profile sport.
Right.
And if you're going to commit to excellence as an athletic department, you shouldn't just pick and choose what you're going to be good at.
Yeah, let me
be excellent in all areas.
But fandom, and I'm not here to jump on J-skers, but you see a lot of people out there who love Nebraska football and Duke basketball, or North Carolina, or any other, Kentucky, any other blue blood basketball. I'm like, no, you're all in or you're not. I'm not. Look, I live in Illinois, and Illinois has had a lot more men's basketball success than Nebraska, but I'm not an Illini fan.
Right.
I'm a Husker fan. And it doesn't matter if it's football, men's basketball, women's basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball, rifle, bowling, gymnastics, wrestling, and all the other ones that I've missed. Chess, I don't care. the only thing that matters to me, John.
Yeah.
Only
Good job.
No, let's talk about those Tier 1 wins. We got to go back. We got to mention, if nothing else, just to piss off those J-Sker people. Sunday, December 4th, that win over now number 7 Creighton, and I believe they were number 7 at the time. They were
number 7 then, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, come on. That's a tent-pole victory right there, ladies and gentlemen.
And they were beating Iowa.
Oh, that too. Well, we get the opportunity to beat Iowa again.
Yeah.
Could you imagine in the premier men's sports, football and basketball, if we had 3 wins against Iowa this year?
That's what I'm talking about, causing them pain. Because for years we had to put up with we couldn't beat them in football. We beat them in football. We kept them from winning the Big Ten West. That should be pain. But if we could sweep them in men's basketball, I'm telling you right now, even if you don't follow Nebraska men's basketball, if you just bring up that we beat them in basketball at all, they're going to be in pain because of it, and they're going to shut up. There you go. That's what sports is for. Living vicariously through the lives of younger people and better athletes.
Yeah. Brian said a few minutes ago, how many Big Ten teams make the NCAA tournament? 6? No, 8 or more this year. I agree. There's no way half the field makes the Big Ten tournament. Or I'm sorry, not the NCAA tournament. I just don't think the conference is that strong.
No, it isn't. It's just not a good year for the Big Ten.
Which is, I guess, good for Nebraska as we try to trend, upward. But it's definitely, you can't just take advantage of a down conference in this year. You gotta rebuild and be there to compete when the conference is, premier. And look, we said it before, the Big Ten conference, the Big Ten men's basketball is a meat grinder.
It is a meat.
Nobody gets out alive. Everybody deals with injuries, and everybody has, like Nebraska's had their share of injuries, and you just, it's not always the best team. Sometimes it's just the lucky team at the end of the season. So we'll just see. We've got, as we mentioned before, there are 3 regular season games left, and we just got to, I say we, like I factor into this. The squad just has to take care of business. Minnesota coming up on Saturday, Michigan State. Both of those games are at home. And then you go to Iowa City on Sunday, March 5th. And that's, Bubble Sunday, I think. No, that's not Bubble Sunday. That's tournament time. Anyway, moving on. Anything else men's basketball?
No.
Okay. John? Why don't you go ahead and pull up that thing you pulled up before?
Are you going to read this or am I?
I'll read it.
You have a better voice than I do. This thing?
Yep, that's the. I had a wet whistle. All right. Press conference advisory. Media members. Nebraska Athletics will hold a press conference on Friday at 1:30 p.m. for an announcement regarding an upcoming special event in the fall. Those in attendance and available to the media at the event will include Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen and University and Athletic Department officials. The press conference will be held on the 6th floor of West Stadium Press Box. Media may access the press conference area at 12:45 p.m. The end.
I guess I didn't need to include that last bit about where you go for the conference, but whatever.
Now we all know.
Yeah, I just cut and pasted it. So they're going to hold the press conference Friday to announce a big special event. What do you think it is? Everybody speculate. Come on, all you people in chat. Let's go.
Brian has speculation. He mentioned this early on in the show. He's just joined in. Pillen was a regent on Hale Varsity. They said they suspect the press conference is something in works to set volleyball attendance record. And he goes on to say, by setting up a volleyball court in Memorial Stadium for a triad of UNL, UNO, and Kearney playing matches.
No.
I mean, we're getting multiple people saying that. Let's look at the more previous comments. James Boardman says, volleyball at Memorial Stadium set the attendance record. Suck it, whiskey.
No.
You don't think that's what it is, or are you
Nope,
just
they're
shooting
going. It's a big event to announce the building of the Tom Osdome. Jack Mitchell is a radio host in Lincoln. He speculated about what concert they could be announcing, and he listed people like, I don't know, Drake and Lady Gaga and what's that, Swift girl, and the Rolling
Taylor?
Stones.
Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I think that's who it is. The Rolling Stones, U2, and Drake, and you know what? You know what I think it is? If it's going to be a concert, it's only going to be one of two people. Weird Al or Dolly. Because we all know that Weird Al could fill that stadium in a moment's notice, and so could Dolly. Maybe they'll do it together. Dolly Parton could sing Jolene live, and then Weird Al could do Pauline. And of course, on Twitter, what I posted about this, Greg, was that really the most special thing that they could announce is the appearance of a winning football team. Are you still there? Oh my God, I think he's frozen. Maybe I'm frozen. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello?
You're just frozen on the line there.
Spike volume said.
I said that the best thing that they could make an appearance, or they could announce, is the appearance of a winning football team.
Hello.
Oh my God. Yes, we're still going here. Let's see. Fred Sacco says Greg is frozen in anticipation, which he appears to be.
That is a winning recipe. You put Memorial.
You're still kind of ooshy. Okay. Brian, and he went away completely. Brian Bauer said they were speculating. Let's just put this up. Brian Bauer says they were speculating having a concert after volleyball. Larry the Cable Guy with Adam Devine, two Nebraska comedians. If tickets aren't too high, could sell out to Memorial. I think that's true. Oh, I read that as Larry the Cable Guy and Adam Devine, and then two more Nebraska comedians, which I think would be kind of neat. I mean, give them some exposure. Fred comes in and he says, I bet it's the Flying Salami Brothers running jet sweeps versus the Husker D with Bo coordinating. I think that was that would be hurtful. But there was all sorts of speculation on Twitter about what it is, but apparently you could stay tuned tomorrow for a big announcement about something that's going to happen at Memorial Stadium. I don't know what, I don't know what Greg had planned next, and normally I let Greg plan the shows. But let's see. Fred comes in with, he's coming back. He is back.
What I missed?
Okay. You missed just rampant speculation about what they're going to be announcing.
I like that. Rampant speculation is my favorite type of speculation.
Yeah. Nobody's coming in on my Dolly Parton thing.
Well, could you imagine Dolly and Al singing Islands in the Stream together?
Yeah. I think that would be unbelievable.
I'd be all for it. Is today really Tom Osborne's birthday?
Yes.
I didn't know that my twins share a birthday with Dr. Tom.
Yep, I think he's 86.
My twins are 2, so they got a few years ago.
Wait a minute. 1937. Is that right? 2023, 19.
Yep.
I can't do math in my head anymore.
Yep,
Is that right?
86.
86? Okay, so
Yep.
86 years old. Wow, that's a long time to be alive.
Old enough to be relevant, young enough to not have to fight in World War II.
I had a meeting with my financial planner yesterday, and he showed us a plan out till the year 2064, and I was like, oh my God, you have high hopes for me. I'm thinking, get me past the next 10 years and see how much money I can leave for my wife.
John, we didn't meet yesterday.
Okay. Do you have more subjects, more topics, Greg?
I do. Should we just keep going with it?
Yeah.
All right. So you know how in the not too distant future, the Big Ten, which is already 14 teams, is going to be getting bigger, growing, expanding.
Yeah.
UCLA and USC. This came across my desk today that I felt, well, this ought to be a fun topic to discuss and share with the good people of the Five Heart Show live. And this is all rampant speculation. I'll start right there. But it would be what the Big Ten Conference would look like with, you guessed it, even more expansion. John, let's show that image to the good people.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you have it. Okay. Yeah.
So we have basically the Big Ten West consisting of all former Pac-12 teams, USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, and Stanford. In the Midwest, the Big Ten Midwest Division, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois. In the East, you have Rutgers, Maryland, Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana. And in the Central, you have, I'm going to do this out of order, Michigan, Michigan State, Northwestern, Purdue, and the least likely of all to happen, in my opinion, Notre Dame.
What? Where's that?
Are you not seeing?
Oh my God, it is there. I didn't notice that before until you said that out loud.
That's why I said it the way I did, John, to build up the anticipation.
Okay. So.
But Notre Dame will never join the conference.
Oh, they're tied to the ACC really closely, but anything can happen. I mean, if you're going to have a super conference, I guess you have a super conference.
Let's talk about how this would play out.
How would it play out?
You'd play everybody in your division naturally.
Right.
So Nebraska continues to get Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois every year.
Yeah.
There's 4 games. You can play 2 out-of-division opponents, be it on a setup on a rotation. So, that gets you to 10 games, and then you have 2 non-conference games.
Why have they put the nerds over in the other division and given us Illinois?
Would you rather change? I don't think it matters.
I do. I want to play the nerds. I want the quadrangle of hate to stay intact.
Quadrangle of hate. Well, I
mean,
think
the battle for NU has been a pretty good game every year. It's
true.
Northwestern has fallen on hard times the last couple of years, but this certainly is interesting. I mean, you still have USC, UCLA. I think Washington fits into that pretty well out there.
But look, they have Ohio State and Michigan in different divisions, meaning that they would not potentially play each other every year, and that would, I think, cause a lot of friction in those fan bases.
It probably would. It probably would cause a lot of, what it would. Here's the thing about that. It would cause a lot of friction until you looked at those people and said, okay, you can play each other other year, and the chances of you not winning a championship are much higher than if you didn't, and then see what they say. And I'm guessing they'd still say, no, we're playing each other every year, you sons of bitches, and then riots would begin. But this is a very interesting alignment. I mean, you've got Ohio State and Penn State there, and the rest are kind of, they're sluggards. Michigan Notre Dame's a long-standing rivalry that kind of went away. Nebraska and Iowa, USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon are certainly, Oregon's up there. I mean, suddenly you have the Pac-12 equation out of this coming in as a very strong contender for their division.
Right.
Huh. I don't know. We'll see what the future brings.
Brian has a couple of comments that are really spot on. He says he likes this better than throwing us in with the West Coast weirdos. And I also think it may minimize. Well, if you have to make 2 trips out west, based on my ideas of if the conference grew to this point, and you have these little pods and so forth, you still make 2 trips out west. But I like the stability, I suppose, of all the people we already know and hate. And then he says, do you have a 4-team playoff for conference champion, or is conference championship irrelevant by then? You almost got to just take 2 best, right?
Because I think you have to take the 2 best, and then those go. You see who gets into the 12-team playoff that's coming.
Right.
I mean, wow, yeah, this is a lot of change. But then we're going through a pretty tumultuous time in football. I mean, I have been spending a huge amount of my time going back to the 1890s and the 1900s and reading newspaper articles and stuff like that. And there's been a lot of change over the years for college football, and it still remained a game that all of us love a lot. And I don't think that's going to change, regardless of back in the early. Let's see, when was it? I want to say in the early 1920s or in the 1920s, most Nebraska fans who pay attention to long-term history for football could tell you that, Nebraska beat Notre Dame and da-da-da-da-da. But what they probably can't tell you is that Nebraska and Minnesota were enormous rivals back in, I think it was 1914, 1912, somewhere in there. And those games really helped Nebraska on the national map because Minnesota was known more than we were at that time. And Nebraska played against Red Grange at Illinois, Bob Subsky's teams, and beat them well, and became a nationally known quantity then too. But those are just kind of changes that have got stuff that's happened, and now went to the Big 8, went to the Big 12, Big 6, Big 8, Big 12, now the Big 10. It's just change, and we'll just see where it comes out in the end.
Fred says Ohio State canceled a series with Washington, so that kind of implies UW may land in the Big Ten at some point. Right. I don't know. You could always just make this draw the conclusion that Ohio State fears Huskies. Anything's possible. And then we've got Brian says Meat Chicken and Indiana could be swapped if Michigan and Ohio State need to stay together, but then I think you lose Michigan, Notre Dame, which is not an every year thing, but you also lose Michigan State. I feel like
it's hard. You know what? It is hard, but guess what? You sons of bitches in the Big Ten, we lost everything that we had when we joined. I mean, we had whether it was a good thing. Well, that's just it. And Vince Watson said, would Ohio State versus Michigan not playing every year be any different than when they broke up Nebraska versus Oklahoma every year? No, it wasn't, but you can even go further than that. I mean, Nebraska, Kansas probably wasn't one of the heralded rivalries, but it was one of the longest standing series in the history of college football. So, you either change or you die. That's it. Adapt or die. And
I don't think those are the only 2 choices in life, John.
Well, they are. For the purposes of this podcast, Greg, they are.
Are you changing the rules of life just to suit this podcast, John?
No, you do have to adapt through life. Like right now, you're adapting to being a father. And when you become a parent, you give up a huge chunk of your life to raise your children. If you're doing it right, and that's a commitment and a sacrifice you make. So adapt or die, and it doesn't mean die. It means lose what's the value to you, sometimes. And it's okay, Greg. In 20 years, you'll get it back, and everything will be completely changed. And you'll go, what the fuck happened?
That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I'll say what in the world happened. I'm older.
Okay, you will say that. I'll say the other thing 38,000 times in a row.
That's okay. Fred says that the Big Ten would never break up Michigan, Ohio State, and I kind of think he's right.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, it is. It is the.
You know what the Big Ten needs?
Biggest rivalry.
You know what the Big Ten needs? The Big Ten needs Texas to come in and throw its weight around.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't. All right. Let's talk some recruiting. Some recruiting? I don't usually use the shortened version. I felt a little bad and dirty saying it. Recruiting.
Okay.
On the recruiting trail.
On the recruiting tail.
Fred gave us this one, this nugget, very early on in the show, so thanks for hanging out all night with us, Fred. This Raiola news is encouraging. Our staff has hit recruiting so hard, whoever pulls them out shall be crowned King of England.
Well, I saw a quip today that Steve Sipple was on some radio program this morning, 1620 or something, and said he talked to the Raiola kid, and he has not canceled his trip to Georgia. So I don't know. We're going to find out in the next few months is what's going to happen. Maybe Steve Sipple's just being a witting or unwitting pawn in a recruiting battle, a contract war.
How early... Now, look, you're one of the most sought-after high school prospects, especially at the quarterback position. How early do you commit?
I think it's whether or not you enjoy the process.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is this. If you're being recruited by Nebraska, Nebraska is probably going to look at you and say, you're going to be the only recruit, quarterback we're going to take in this class. If you're being recruited by Georgia, they're probably not going to tell you that. Or they might tell you that and go get another quarterback, at which point you go, well, screw you guys, your word is shit. So I think that's all about really, do you enjoy this recruiting process? Do you enjoy the attention? And I mean, why not if you're a young guy? Or do you just want to go, you know what, I want to have this settled and done so I want to figure out where I want to go. I'm going to pick them, and then I'm going to figure out and concentrate on other things. And that's really individual to each kid. So... I don't know. If I was Dylan Raiola, if you put me in his shoes, I'd wait until about 4 games into Nebraska's season.
See how it's going.
Well, it's not even how it's going in terms of wins and losses, but I just see how the coach reacts with his players, how the players react to the coach, how the whole staff is reacting to each other. I'd study film on the sidelines. Literally film of looking what people are doing of the sidelines. That's what I'd look at. How are they interacting? How are they talk to each other in game-day situations? You know?
I like it. Because I was going to ask you, if you were an 18-year-old, almost senior in high school, or 17, 18-year-old, almost a senior in high school, who's one of the more sought-after players, what would you, like, how long would you draw out your decision? Would you enjoy being courted by all of these suitors?
You know what? If somebody gave me free trips all over the place, I'd sure as hell take them.
Yeah, because nothing says a good time like Athens, Georgia.
Well, you know what I mean. I haven't tried. If somebody said, "Hey, do you want to come see Tennessee?" I go, "Well, I've never really been to Tennessee. Yeah, I do want to see what's going on there." You know, my daughter, for some reason, went to school in Biola. Now, Biola is a private Christian school south of L.A. And we went out there with her and we talked to them. And, you know, honestly, they had a good biochemistry program, which is why she wanted to go there. And there was no reason I'd never heard of the place. And I thought, why in the hell would my daughter want to live in L.A.? Well, she gets done and we're sitting in the airport waiting to go home. And she just looks up and she goes, "This is where I'm going. I'm going to do this. This is where I'm going to live." And we're like, well, it's your decision. Because, you know, I didn't pay for a college. And I said, you know, if I don't pay for your college, you can go where the hell you want. But if I pay for your college, guess what's going to happen?
You're staying close to home, sweetheart.
Well, I get to choose. And it may not be the choice you like. And that's because it's my freaking money. There you go. Dad.
Well, can I do what they call...
I was going back in time there.
It sounds like it. Speaking going back, can I do what they call in comedy a callback, John?
Okay.
Well, you mentioned, you know, a free trip to Tennessee, Knoxville, right?
Yeah.
And I threw in my Google machine. I said, well, by golly, how far is Knoxville to Dollywood? Come to find out, it's only 40 minutes.
That's what you looked up?
I did. I was curious. How far is it from Knoxville to Dollywood? In case that's important to some people. I've been to Dollywood, John. I went there on my honeymoon.
Really?
Yeah, I did. We split it between Nashville and Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area, because we like amusement parks, and we'd already been to Six Flags, and we'd been to Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana, and Dollywood was like the next one that was within driving distance. We were poor, and it was fun. They have a bald eagle sanctuary at Dollywood, among other things. It was very nice.
Okay, look at this. Brian Bauer says, yelled, get off my lawn to anyone today, John. No. Do you know why? Because it snowed a foot. Nobody's on my lawn except massive shit tons of snow.
You didn't yell at the snow to get off your lawn.
Well, I did, but it's snow. It just
didn't work.
Yeah, piles together and just,
Fred says that he likes your idea of Rayola waiting, till fourth week or so, but he does say, and I don't disagree, that it is sad that that's what college football's come to. What did we do? Let me ask you this, John, because you're older than dirt. What did you do for commitment news before commitment announcers became a thing? You just wait till National Signing Day, or did you just wait till the program rolled out, the first, the spring game or something like that? I mean, are we realistically? We've created this culture of you look at me now, and this. I don't want to say 24-hour news cycle, because that
it is.
That's
exactly it is.
But that's kind of has some negative connotations. But we've built up these kids to be heroes.
No, I don't think that's anything different than it ever was.
But you never knew about it. Go back 40 years. Let's go back 40 years, John. The year's 1983.
Yeah. And I can guarantee you, when Mike Rozier showed up on Kansas, we all pooped ourselves.
Okay.
You didn't have it on your phone. You didn't have it in your face all of the time. But you kind of went, okay, Mike Rozier, Tommy Frazier, those names. Listen, those were the days of, it wasn't just you. It was, oh my God, who did Oklahoma freaking get for a quarterback this time?
Yeah.
Because the battles back and forth between Nebraska and Oklahoma were so vicious, you always wanted to know whose name you had to hate that season, for Oklahoma. So it wasn't like it is now, where there weren't stars.
Right.
And there wasn't the constant attention, but I think that, it's just a little different than it was before, but you still paid attention to it.
Let me ask you this. Again, let's go back 40 years. When you're on campus, and you see this stud athlete walking, do you miss that communal campus pooping of oneself? I couldn't resist. It's like everybody in the quad all at once.
I don't think. At least I didn't. I didn't really do that.
I know. That was a joke,
I was thinking
Johnny.
about this lately. For the purposes of coming up with YouTube videos. I will tell you a story about an altercation I had with a Nebraska football player at a party one time. And I can't remember who the guy was. But, I mean, he was the hugest human being I've ever seen in my life. Probably 6'4", 260 pounds, not a single bit of fat on him, and he is this enormous black guy. And I started talking to him.
I thought you were describing me there for a minute.
There was another girl at this party, and she looked exactly like one of the girls on the volleyball team. And I asked her, she was standing there talking to, he was standing next to me, and she was standing in front of me, and I said, well, do you play volleyball? And she goes, no, I get told all the time I look like one of the girls on the volleyball team. And I'm like, oh, okay, and he said something to me, like, who do I look like? And I said, you're the spitting image of Woody Allen. And he looked at me and he goes, "Who's Woody Allen?" And I said, "He's a tiny, pale Jewish writer." And one of my friends walked by and he starts laughing. And one of my friends walked by and I kind of hit him on the shoulder and I said, "Hey, Jeff, doesn't this guy look exactly like Woody Allen?" And his eyes got this big and he ran away. But every time I saw that guy at parties for the next 2 years, I would walk into the party and I would spot him and I would immediately start yelling shit at him. Like I was going to kick his ass and there was nothing he could do to touch me and all this stuff. And all the people around me didn't know that we knew each other because we started talking after that. He was a really nice guy. I can't remember what his name is now, but they would just shit themselves. And it was fun for both of us to watch people just, their eyes got huge and they'd be like, "Oh God, John's going to die right in front of us." And it was a great deal of fun.
No, that's a tremendous story, John. Thank you so much for sharing. I don't have any college stories like that because nobody that I went to college with was 6'4", 260 without an ounce of fat on them. But I did drink a lot of bad, cheap beer in my college years. Kind of a lot.
I majored in beer.
Majored in beer. Apparently that's the thing. I got a buddy. I think I've talked about this on the show. He's really getting into homebrew, and he's going to have a brewery out of his property there. And he's got good stuff. Like he's won some awards already very early on. But he took online courses through Cornell to be a master brewer. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, all right. We got a couple things here. Go ahead.
I was going to ask a question of you and everybody else.
Okay.
These are things that I wonder if anybody even cares about hearing about, but I think that they're big issues for me. If you remember a couple of years ago, the NCAA lost the Alston case. And when they lost the Alston case, basically they lost the ability to control players' name, image, and likenesses, and that's why we have nil. There are other cases coming up through the legal system that may determine whether college football, as we know it, continues to exist. And they are about whether or not college football players should be ruled to be employees. And I really haven't. I've read about this and I've kind of looked into it a little bit. Not enough to talk about it during a show, but I wonder if anybody's even. Do you care? Does anybody care?
I would say yes, I do care.
What about the audience, though? We do this for the audience, Greg, because we love our people.
You said you said you asked me and everybody, and I just answered first.
Okay.
We're getting comments from the last topic. All right, so you the viewers, are you interested in in delving into the classification, I suppose, of these student athletes as employees based on the NIL and all the legal mumbo jumbo that I haven't studied yet because we're just fleshing out if this is a worthwhile topic to discuss? Just give us a yes or no, at your leisure. We got nothing but time. It's 9:35. Some of us have to work tomorrow. All of us have to work tomorrow.
Haven't you learned to go without sleep yet?
Yeah, I don't go to bed until midnight, and I get up by 6, and sometimes it's later than midnight. So here, a little peek behind the curtain for everybody. John doesn't know this yet, but he's going to be writing up the article for tonight's show.
That's why I'm trying to take
good notes.
Yeah.
He's at least going to amend the quick write-up I did earlier, I guess last night, for the purposes of YouTube and Facebook, and I guess Twitter, that nobody really watches on Twitter. But I will get to editing the audio, and then when John gives me the all clear, then I'll slap the audio in, and depending on, this has happened before, I will fall asleep in my chair, laptop in place waiting for the file to upload. And then I will wake up at 2:30 or 3 in the morning and I'll be like, oh, I still have to put in the commercials or, put it into the show. And then I'll finally go to bed at 3:30 and the alarm will go off at 6. So we appreciate everybody with this insider knowledge of how the Five Heart show operates. All right, so we got some answers. James Borden says, never thought about it. Okay. Perfect. That's exactly the answer we just wanted an answer. Yes, no, or indifferent. Matt Hansen says, yep, employees. And Fred says, employees are not with the NIL. What's it even matter anymore? It's all such a mess with the pay and legal hoops as this goes on. No, I don't disagree with that either.
Well, trust me, if this gets ruled that they can be employees, the NIL thing is a minor, inconsequential item compared to what the changes would be.
All right, wrong button. Minnie says, employees, yes, I care. I mean, they should pay taxes like everyone else, and they already act like employees with having to show up to certain times and medical stuff.
I think the big key here is, well, they will pay taxes on their NIL stuff. I hope somebody is explaining all this stuff to them. But she is right about the, showing up and actually performing work, and particularly the medical stuff. I think they're covered by medical stuff, but not long term. If you were to get injured permanently in college, what's the long term care of that? The really big issue here is this: is if they are ruled to be employees, what happens with everything?
My question would be, and I don't mean to interrupt you, John. I apologize for being rude, but with that classification of employee, you can take the student athlete part out.
Yeah.
They don't have. I mean, if they are there, and look, we know that in some conferences in the Southeast, they have been paid under the table for years. Right? Only in the Southeast. It's never happened in the Midwest ever. But taxes, yes. But when you become an employee, then you're like, okay, well then I'm here officially then to play football and not get an education. And that's what my concern would be. I think we should still, and maybe this is old man Greg talking, but I think we should still try to hold on a little bit to that student part.
Well, you have to be enrolled as a full-time student to be at a university.
But you know what I mean, right? I mean,
yes.
Like, I'm not saying that there's no emphasis put on academics right now. Like, I'm not saying that. I know, this is one of the things that Nebraska has touted for a number of years. I mean, as long as I've been podcasting about Nebraska, it's been, the academic All-Americans and things like that. But if you reclassify these young people as employees, I think in doing so, you almost strip away that academic necessity. And it gets into a touch.
You don't. You do not, because you still have to be a student. You have to be enrolled to be a student. There's certain academic requirements you'd have to be a student at campus. And these are not the problems. The real sticky part of this comes in exactly here. Is who gets to be the employees and what wage did they get? Is it just the football team? Because they make all the money for the universities, and part of their revenue supports the 20 other sports at the university. Nebraska has 22 varsity sports. Who pays for them? Nebraska football, Nebraska's men's basketball, and volleyball. They're a profit. They're probably the only volleyball team in America that's profitable. Those athletes pay for all the other sports. Okay, are you going to pay them? You're not going to pay the other sports?
Right. Yeah, you can't.
You can't do that because of Title IX, probably, because Title IX is all about equality. So there's a massive amount of stuff coming in here. Yeah. The other problem is who's going to unionize, and if they unionize, are they going to have collective bargaining agreements?
Because Northwestern
and you're going to do this versus private universities different than public university. It's the enormous issue. So I've been looking at it, but
I don't. Mini Hunt through YouTube says the job description is student athlete, but I think if the job description is football player, right? As an employee, and I understand, yes, you have to be enrolled, but I'm for the education, so I'm not trying to shut out the education, but you're like, okay, well, I'm on campus, I'm being paid to, tackle people, catch touchdowns, whatever it is. I don't need to go to philosophy. I don't need to go to chemistry. In order to, if we're trying to regulate this, and we're not, but somebody will eventually, do you have to say, all right, well, in order to keep this status, you need to maintain X GPA.
Well, you already have student workers all over campus. I mean, if you're an IT, chances are, if you're going to help desk, it's a student worker that's helping you for the initial level 1 problem. If you go to, I did student work at Nebraska. I was a member of the Morocco project for a while, and I learned a shit ton about Morocco because I just really helped them with their their reports and studies and stuff like that. It was very interesting for me. I didn't know shit about Morocco.
Like Casablanca?
Yeah.
Interesting. What can you tell me about Morocco,
right,
John?
It was, what?
What can you tell me about Morocco?
Well, I think it was Nebraskans were working with Morocco to teach them things about irrigation and learn about growing stuff in their environment, Moroccan desert and things like that. I mean, it was I learned a shit ton about Morocco.
No, that's very cool.
That was
Thank you
part
for
of
sharing.
the student job. So an athlete being an employee, I mean, I don't know of none of us. In fact, my first computer job was working in a student lab student lab at the home ec department. It's not called that anymore. I can't remember what they call it. It's not home ec. That's a bad word. But, that college.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first computer job, and I got paid for that, and I did stuff like that. It gave me an entry into the IT career that I had later.
And look at you now. Now you're a titan in your industry. All right.
I don't know about that.
It's great. Thank you for bringing up that NIL and where it could be going because, as we meant, some of the commenters never thought about it. It's not something I think about or dwell on. I think like most people, I'm like, all right, just bash each other's heads in on Saturdays, and we'll see you next week. Okay, right, here we go. Terrible, just terrible says home ec became family consumer science. There you go.
Yeah.
And Fred says, student work help desk is great, but are they getting a runs and nil deal and or making thousands? Probably not.
True. But
John,
that has no relation to them being an employee for the university.
John, if you had to choose right now, you have a nil opportunity, but you have to choose right now on the spot. Valentino's or Runza. Go.
It'd probably be Valentino's.
Oh, Grand Italian Buffet.
Yeah.
Is it because you like variety?
No, it's honestly, I don't.
Oh, John's
because of the health issues.
Base.
I don't eat a lot of fast food, and because a large part of that is because there's so much sodium in it. I don't have to cut sodium completely out of my diet, but I do live on a low sodium diet. And when you go eat fast food, everything just tastes like salt. So it's not fun, and it's not pleasant.
I'm sorry.
And Valentino's, I like pizza. I'd probably do Valentino's first.
Okay. All right, here we go. Don's got a theory. Let's get to it. I think I know what the announcement Friday is. Nebraska is playing Oklahoma every Thanksgiving.
Well, that'd be a hell of an announcement.
That would make some heads turn.
It would. Would it be more or less plausible than the Tom Osdome?
More.
You think so?
Yes, they're not putting a dome in Nebraska, John. They're not putting if they're not putting one in Wisconsin, they're not putting one in Nebraska.
Oh, Wisconsin, they don't have enough money.
I know. All right, we got a couple of pin messages here that I've been wanting to talk about. Speaking of terrible, just terrible, it says, did you see the video of Malachi Coleman running a 4.28 40 this morning?
I did not. That is wow. It's going to be interesting to see that kid play football.
It will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It could be a real game changer, you know? All right, and then let's go back briefly to the conference realignment because I've been sitting on this one for a little while, and then we're just about done because we've been doing this for over 76 minutes, and we think that you folks probably need to go to bed too. But James Marshall says the West Coast teams don't belong. Colorado and West Virginia should be in the Big Ten. Thoughts?
Colorado's just icky. No.
I was going to say, could you imagine? I mean, like, I know we've had a couple of home and homes with Colorado, but could you imagine having to, and knowing there's no end in sight, put up with Colorado and Iowa every year?
I would say we would just invade them and take over their states. We would invade Colorado with our tremendous Nebraska armies and take over that state and just make it Nebraska. It would be 49 states left in the Union. And Colorado would not exist anymore.
James says Colorado can go to the MWC. I think in lieu of Colorado, Kansas State.
No.
Iowa State?
No.
Okay, well, we're not getting Oklahoma.
No. I am perfectly fine with the teams that were listed on that thing. I think that whoever put that together did a really good job. You know what? I know because of some events over the last year, I have become acquainted with some high-ranking Notre Dame people, and I'm going to go ask them some questions in the next few months.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what these events are. John, are you going green on us?
Green?
Yeah, Fighting Irish.
Doctor events, okay?
Oh.
I've had to see a number of neurologists over the last year.
I don't know why. You seem perfectly normal to me.
Really? Well, thank you. Okay.
All right. I think we're getting a little punchy.
Wait, I got one more thing.
Okay, just don't forget to put it in the write-up.
I beat God of War Ragnarok last night. I finished the game. It's still one of the better. God of War the first time around was one of the better games I've ever played. Ragnarok was again one of the better games I've ever played. I love Kratos. I love Atreus. I want to find out what happens to Atreus. Sindri, the thing with that. But now I don't have a next game to play, and I'm just lost about what the hell I'm supposed to do next now. So if anybody has any good game recommendations, I'd love to hear them. Go ahead and read that.
Owen Walker says, thanks, John. I shat myself.
Why did he shat himself?
I don't know.
Because I was doing that.
Maybe. All right. Matt Hansen says, can't believe Colorado beat Nebraska 2 in a row under the last head coach. No disagreement there. And then Fred says, Fred's got back-to-back. We'll hear from Fred twice here. Existing Big 12 teams we could accept are KU and ISU. Otherwise, hell with them. And then he says that John's strange taunt or cough kind of scared him.
I'm sorry, Fred.
Maybe that's why Owen shat himself.
It could be.
John.
Yes.
I know you like the bathrobe.
Uh-huh.
But I'm never staying the night at your house until you get a haircut. It's something about the long hair.
I've been thinking about that lately.
Is your wife finally getting on you about it?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't do her any good. Put it this way, Greg. Somebody asked her, this, like the polar plunge thing, this could be dangerous thing for him. Why don't you stop him from doing this? And it wasn't about the polar plunge, it was a while back, but it was the same answer. Mm-hmm. She looked at this person and said, nobody's ever been able to stop John from doing anything.
That's true.
And I thought, yeah, that is actually, I thought back through my life and I thought, well, that's pretty damn true. It really is. If I'm going to go do something stupid, I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it with the full trust and full knowledge.
No, I'll tell you, motherfuckers.
Okay. And on that insulting note, we thank everybody for being here for the last 81 and a half minutes with us. As you know, as I say every week, we can't do the show without you. We used to. It's not nearly as fun, or wasn't nearly as fun then as it is now. So thank everybody for spending your tonight. This week it was Thursday. Sometimes it's Wednesday, but thank you for spending your evenings with us. We know that there's other programming and television and stuff out there. There's a St. Louis Battlehawks game on, by God, and you could be anywhere watching anything. And we appreciate the time that you spend with us each and every week. So for our beloved founder, that Silver Fox himself, John Dam Johnston, my name is Greg Mahochko. This is the 5 Heart Podcast for CornNation.com, where we remind you each and every week that 5 Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go Big Red.
I
think I need to get some red lights behind me so it looks more brothel-y like, don't you think?
Nope. You already wear a robe, John. Let's not make it more brothely. Less. Let's take the bed out of there so it's less brothely. Okay. I'm surprised you didn't charge me $50 for me coming over and hanging out with you that one day last season.
Well, I could still send you a bill.
Please don't. I don't have the money.
Okay.
By the way, tell Todd this on Monday night that Fred considers Todd the irresistible object.
Oh, by God, I will.
And you're a force of nature. You're the immovable force, and Todd is the irresistible object.
Okay.
All right. Good night, John Boy.
Good night.
See, I changed it up this time.